Hello. Hello, welcome. Um, my name is Eric Davis. I am beyond excited to be here tonight. We live in an exceptional time for content on the small screen. I feel like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is not just among the best shows that are on television right now. I personally think it's one of the best shows of the last 10, 20 years, without a doubt. I'm a little biased. I am a born and raised New Yorker. I was raised Jewish on Staten Island. At the time, I was one of like 5 Jews on Staten Island. I have a son named Ethan. So yeah, I mean, this show speaks to my heart and my soul in a lot of prolific ways. But beyond that, the writing is incredible. The costumes, the production design, the sets, the editing, the sound, and of course, the performances. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better ensemble on television right now. No more did we see that in season 2. I think everyone was able to just spread their wings in such great ways. And to talk about that ensemble, to talk about season 2, to talk about that finale and his journey, we have a special guest here today playing Mr. Joel Maisel himself, Michael Zegen.
Hi. There's a lot of people here today. It's a beautiful day. What are you doing here?
Yes. Watching this beautiful episode, and we have to start there with this one night only ending of season 2. Talk about when you first read it, what you thought about the ending, and I'm just curious to know both your personal feelings on where you'd like to see these two end up, and also what you're hearing from the fans of whether they want you to see you guys together.
Okay. Well, so before I even got the script, Rachel Brosnahan, Mrs. Maisel, who's fantastic, she likes spoiling things. So, and I don't like to know anything. I don't ask Amy Sherman-Palladino what's going to happen with Joel. I don't ask her anything. I like being surprised because I think I'm as much of a fan of this show as any of you guys. So, when I get a script, I just, I read it, and I'm always so surprised. And so she was trying to tell me the ending, and for a week she was trying to tell it to me, and she was like, no, but something great happens. And I was like, no, I don't want to know. Just don't spoil it. And then when I was reading it, I'm like 3 pages before it ends, and I'm like, I don't know what she was talking about. I don't even come back at the end. Like, what is? And then it was like the last page and that scene, and my heart was racing. I was like, oh yeah, all right.
But you're happy. So you're happy about that. So you personally would love to see these two get together.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, at least for now. Maybe someday. But like, at least for now, I think Joel kind of has to let her do her thing. She was letting him do his thing. She was supporting him when he was trying to, be a stand-up comedian, and now he has to do the same for her because I think she's way more talented. But yeah, I the question originally was about her and the ending, and I thought that it was her last night before embarking on this solo journey. She sees Lenny Bruce sing, and he's singing all alone. I think it just hits her that this is going to be something that she's going to have to do alone. She doesn't have time for a husband or kids, even though she kind of has both. But this is something she has to embark on alone. But before she does that, she just wants one night of some sweet lovin', and it has to be with somebody she feels comfortable with. And I feel like if she had gone to Benjamin in that moment, I think it would have been kind of cruel because she would have been leading him on. But she knows that Joel will always be there for her, and they have 2 kids together. They're always going to be in each other's lives, and yeah, so she goes to him, and it's kind of no strings attached, at this point. But there's definite love. I just don't think that they necessarily need to be together right now.
Love is on hold.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe they'll both go in different directions and meet other people. Who knows?
So I do want to get back because I'm very fascinated by the balance between who you love and what you love, and we're going to get back to that. But I do want to go back to the beginning with you and ask you. I know you campaigned hard for this. You really wanted this role. I read
Wouldn't
that
you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
what I read when you auditioned, you just had the script for the pilot, and so were you like, this guy's an a-hole? But you still really wanted it.
Yeah, because I'm an actor, and you know, can we curse here? Or you said a-hole? I don't know if
I'm playing it safe. I'm playing it safe.
Okay, good call. Yeah, I mean, you know, playing the villain is fun. It's fun, and it didn't matter to me what this guy was. I read the script and I was like, the writing is so good and it's so funny, and for anytime I read something and it makes me laugh out loud, that's so rare.
Yeah.
That's you know, on the page it just makes you laugh out loud. It's incredible because it really sparks your imagination, and I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't know. To be honest, I had never seen Gilmore Girls. I knew the name Amy Sherman-Palladino, but I didn't really know anything about her. I just knew what I was reading, and it was something that I don't know, I connected with it somehow. And I was actually, I was helping a friend audition for Midge when I first read the scenes. I read the breakup scene in the first episode. I don't know if you remember, but that's what I initially read, and I was like, "What is this? Like, I could do this. You know, this is me." And I actually thought, I didn't know that just from you know, helping her with this audition. I didn't know that this guy was coming back. This guy was like a regular on this show. I thought, oh, he's probably just in the first episode and whatever. But no. Then I got a breakdown, and it said that he was a regular on the series. So I jumped at the chance to audition for it.
You're also a kid from Jersey, and so you grew up in New York, and so did that sort of play into your wanting to sort of be this best representation of who this guy is, because you understand to a certain degree who he is, because you've come from the place that he comes from.
Kind of. I mean, yeah, it's not me. That's, you know, it's not me, and it's not my that wasn't my journey. But he's, yeah, I understood that world. I understood the humor, I think, hopefully. And yeah, I don't know, I just connected with it somehow, and I really, you say, like, you know, I worked for it, and I really did. It was something like 17 pages for the audition, and I memorized the shit out of it. So you know, I always feel like if you want something badly enough, you gotta memorize it. You gotta, because I'll be in an audition and like I have pages in my hand, my hands are shaking, and it's never a good look. So I just memorize it, and I know it's difficult, but you just got to do it. And sometimes you don't have time, you know. So just memorize as much as you can.
I know chemistry is so important, and I know you've spoken about sort of that chemistry read that you did with Rachel. And I think for performers, and I'm sure there's a lot of performers in this room, you know, chemistry is a hard thing to figure out because sometimes it's just there and you know it. And when did you know it with her, that you knew that the chemistry was there, we're locked into each other? How long did it take? Was there a moment you realized?
I mean, it was in the audition. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I had 3 auditions for it, and well, I had 2. I had one for the casting director. Then they brought me back for Amy and Dan, and the following week. And I thought I blew it. I went in there and I was prepared. I thought I was, you know, I was like, I'm getting this. This is me. And I go in there and I just got nothing from them. You know, I got like no laughs, no nothing. And the casting director, Meredith Tucker, who had cast me on Boardwalk Empire, and I love her, but for some reason she was just kind of quiet. She was the reader, and I was like reading, and I was like trying to listen. You know, you're trying to play off of somebody, and I think they had told her, you know, keep up the pace, and she was like way fast. You know, it was like I didn't understand what she was saying, but she's the best. I don't know if she's in the audience tonight. I hope not, but she's she's the best. But yeah, so I just thought I blew it, and I like left, and I walked home from Midtown. I lived downtown, and I was walking home listening to some sad music, and I get back home, and I'm writing my agents an email saying it did not go well. I usually, you know, get a good sense of the vibe, and the vibe was not good, and that is true. I do get a good sense, and also Amy had said to me when I was leaving, she's like, well, nice meeting you. Thanks for coming in. And that's like, come on, you know? And so, so I walked out there, and so I'm writing this email to my agents, and then like literally 2 seconds after I sent it, I got another email saying they wanted me to come back in the next morning to read with Rachel. So I was like, all right, here we go. And so I came back in, and Rachel was there already, and she was like, do you want to go over this? And I was like, yes, you know, of course. Like, how often do you get to do that, to rehearse with the person you're testing with? And so we're in this little waiting room, and we're reading with each other, just like kind of quiet, because there's other people there. You know, there are other guys auditioning for it, but I was next. And so she was out there, and we're reading it, and I was just like, yep, this is it. Like, we got it. I just felt it. I felt it just from reading with her, you know, that there was this connection, and the chemistry was there. And then we went in there, and I didn't get you know, nice meeting you this time. So it was, I felt like, you know, I got it. I nailed it. I did everything I could possibly do. And then I had to wait like 2 weeks to find out, and that was killer. Yeah. Yeah.
But you get the part. Season 1 happens, and then this show takes on a life of its own. It becomes, I think, a different kind of show, a show that's beloved. And now, I think after season 2, a show that's going to go down in history as one of the greats. Saying that, but at what point did you realize that this show had taken on another life?
Well, I always knew it was good. We did the pilot, and then, you know, the pilot went out there, and it got a good response. Amazon did this voting thing that, from what I've been told, really doesn't mean much. It's like, if they want to pick something up, they'll pick it up, you know. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was the time that I guess it had to have been after the whole season came out, because somebody came up to me at a bar like that weekend and told me that I was loathsome, and that was, and then I was like, I've made it. But yeah, I remember the pilot was so good, and then I remember my parents asking me, like, how's the rest of the show? And I was like, it's really good. It's really good. It just keeps getting better and better. But I didn't know how big it was going to be, you know? And it's big. It's big now. And I knew it was good. I just didn't know if, you know, people would watch it, because something could be good, but, you know, people might not watch it. But it's now it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like I'm getting stopped all over the place. So it's
But they're not calling you loathsome anymore as much. Right?
Somebody today actually, he told me he hated me in the first season, but I was at the gym, and he was like, when's the next season coming out? I was like, I think December. He's like, you know, I hated you in the first season, but I liked you more in the second. I was like, great, cool.
But that's what's great, I think, about Joel, is that he's human, and he's a stand-up guy. He works hard. He loves his family, but he's flawed, you know, and he's selfish at times.
And that's why I like playing him, because he is flawed. And like I said, I mean, in the first season, I was. He was sort of the antagonist, you know, he was. And I don't want to call him a villain, but he, you know, for all intents and purposes, he was acting as sort of the villain. But then, you know, that last episode in the first season where he fights those guys, I love that, because that was like his moment of redemption. Not that I ever asked them to redeem him. I was kind of happy playing this jerk. You know, there was this line in, I think it was the third episode, where he says, she sees him outside the apartment building, and he's like, I've decided I'm going to give it another go. And I knew people are going to hate him for that. You know, I knew it. I just knew it, and they did. But then there's that last moment of redemption. I love that so much. And then, so he is flawed, and I think as an actor, like, there's nothing better than playing a flawed character. And to be honest, I think a lot of these characters are flawed. You know, nobody's perfect, but I do think he's the, and I this is not to say anything against anybody else, but I think he's kind of the most real. I think everybody's like kind of heightened, and he is heightened to a degree, sure, but I think he's the most relatable in a way.
Yeah, and I feel like you really do see that in season 2. And let's talk about season 2. I mean, just generally overall, were you really happy with Joel's progression through the season? And was there anything that you hope would happen, or what something that you were really happy happened?
I was happy with how he progressed. Like I said, I never asked them to do anything in particular. You know, I never say to Amy, "Hey, can maybe we do this with him?" Like I trust them, and so like every script I get, there's always something great that he does, and the cool thing is that as much as some people don't like Joel, Amy and Dan love Joel. So you know, I always feel like I'm in good hands with them, and this character's in good hands. And I don't know, I thought everything was pretty perfect, including that ending. I thought everything with Joel ended up just great, and I don't want to give anything away, but season 3 is even better.
Oh. There's a couple of moments I would like to touch on in season 2. I think he's at his most vulnerable when he's drunk and he's home and he's in bed and he's just saying that he wants forgiveness. It's the first time we've really seen Joel say that out loud, that he wants the forgiveness, he needs that forgiveness. He hasn't gotten it really just yet.
Yeah.
What was it like for that scene? Yeah, I'm just curious about that moment and that scene and where Joel was at.
Well, so that scene, I don't know if you all remember, but he's a little drunk. He just had they just bought the building, and they're celebrating, and you know, sometimes you get drunk and start getting a little emotional, and I think that's kind of what happened to him, and he starts really regretting, you know, mistakes that he's made, and he just kind of wishes he had never made those mistakes, because none of it, you know, really, he's the catalyst for Midge's journey. She never would have discovered this talent if he hadn't cheated on her. And he's realizing this. He just blew his life up. I mean, but on a side note, I was very sick during that scene. I was really sick. They brought a doctor in, gave me some B12 shots just to get me going.
So you're laid out, like for real laid out.
But it really worked. Yeah. It really works. I'm like sweating and that's real. But yeah, so that's all I really remember about those scenes. I don't actually remember much because I was so sick. I mean, it was like surreal. It was surreal. I was that sick, but it really worked.
It did work. It did work. You know, and season 2, they're in Paris, they're in the Catskills, but for me, and for those of you who really know this season, the Yom Kippur Meal, for me, was like one of the great scenes. I think it's going to go down as one of the great scenes of this show because it's the entire ensemble. They're all around a table. Everybody's pinging off of their best ofs. Yeah. What was that like to shoot? How long did it take? And was it just really cool? There's not a lot of moments where the entire ensemble is together, and are those really, really special moments for you guys?
They are. Yeah, you know, anytime we get together as a group, as a cast, it's always a good time because there's so many funny people. You got Tony Shalhoub, who I mean, it's kind of a right. It's kind of a dream working with Tony Shalhoub. I've always been a fan of his. I worked at a movie theater when Men in Black was out, and that's where I first discovered him. And he keeps getting his head blown off. He was an alien. It grew back. I don't know if you saw the movie, but yeah. So getting to work with him has been amazing, and he's so funny. You know, in his daily life, he's very quick. So you got him. You got Kevin Pollak, who's a stand-up comedian. Yeah. And Caroline Aaron, who plays my mother, who, you know, she utters one word and you laugh because she's just, her voice is just hilarious. And so, you know, we get together and we just have the best time. And it is rare that we get to do that because, you know, we each have our own kind of storylines going on, especially this season. But
are they harder scenes to do when you're all together? Versus
yeah, because there's a lot of, you know, coverage. So that scene in particular took, I think, 3 days to do. Yeah, because they keep, you know, they're getting this person's coverage and then that person's coverage and getting every angle. And also, it was a guest director, Jamie Babbitt, who, yeah, Jamie's awesome. So you know, when you have a guest director, and we rarely do have guest directors, but when you do, you know, I think it's tough for them because when Amy or Dan directs, they wrote it. so it's like it's their vision being realized, and they know exactly what they want. And when it's a guest director, they kind of have to get every angle because they don't know essentially what, I'm sure they get a hint of what Amy or Dan wants, but what if they don't get it, So they cover everything. So it takes longer. It takes longer.
Do you have a personal favorite moment from season 2?
Oh, well, the Catskills was just so much fun. I mean, it really was. It was so much fun. And it was a lot of work. We were up there for 2 weeks. It wasn't. It actually wasn't the Catskills. It was like 40 minutes outside of Binghamton, which I don't even know what mountains those are, but they were beautiful regardless.
Looks like the Catskills.
Yeah, it was. I think it was closer to like Canada actually, but it was this resort that they found called Scott's Family Resort, and it was old. It was from like the 1800s. They have pictures all around, from like the 50s and 40s and whatever. And it wasn't really a Jewish resort. It was more, I think, for like maybe Norwegians or something. I don't know. But it wasn't one of the typical like Kutchers or something like that. But it was, they spruced it up a bit, and it was just so much fun. It was it was like I think I worked every day for 2 weeks, but it was just a good time. You're with everybody, and it was great. And that and the baseball scene, I liked it. That was in this one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great scene because the entire time you're watching them hit these balls, and you're like, "Who's gonna go get those balls?" And then the end is like, "We got to go get those balls."
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me about that scene. They ask if it was CGI, and so to be honest, it wasn't. I mean, there were moments where it was, but when the camera was in front of us, we had to miss. We had to throw the ball up and miss. Yeah, because otherwise we'd hit the cameraman. But it was, it was a continuous shot. It was a oneer, as we call them, and no cuts. And but it turned out amazing, and that was the last shot of the second season. That was the last scene that we filmed. Yeah, and we ended at like 4 a.m. and toasted and with champagne, and but it was a tough scene to film. But we were hitting, and Joel Johnstone, who plays Archie, he actually played baseball in high school. So he was really good. I don't know if you noticed, but he has a sweet swing.
I imagine that's got to be hard as a performer, though, to play a sport at the same time as you're sort of delivering this dialogue. Joel's having a big moment of an aha moment of wanting to open a club, too. So it's a huge moment for Joel.
Plus, we didn't know that it was going to be a oneer. We didn't know it was going to be one continuous shot. They never told us that, and that was actually kind of decided on the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I just assume, they're going to cut here, cut there, and Amy had been writing me for months. She sometimes she'll send you a random email and be like, "Hey, can you bowl?" And you're like, "I guess so. I don't know. I've been to birthday parties before, but she kept writing me saying, "Can you hit a baseball?" And I was like, "Yes." And she's, then she'd write again a few weeks later, being like, "Are you sure you can hit a baseball?" Like, "Yes." And then like, "Can you hit it and like to yourself and whatever?" And then she was like, "Can you hit it with a cigarette in your mouth and a beer bottle in your hand?" And I was like, I don't know about that, but I can hit a baseball. So it was hard, but we did practice. They sent us to this the day before. They sent us to this like baseball clinic, which was. I thought we were going to a field. Like I didn't even look at where it was. It was. I got an email just telling me to, the car was going to pick me up, and then it takes me to like Midtown, not Midtown, but it was like 74th and Columbus, and I was like, where am I? I thought we were going to a field, and then I called somebody, and they were like, it's in the basement of this bank, and so I went to the basement of this bank, and there was like pitching mounds, and there were batting cages, and so Joel and I know it's confusing because there's two Joels, me and Joel Johnstone, but so we just practiced, and we practiced the lines and practiced hitting on where we were supposed to hit, and so we had some practice, but usually we don't have any rehearsal. Usually there's no, the rehearsal is the first 10 takes that you do. That's the rehearsal, and these are so complicated shots. I mean, so it's kind of a dance. You're trying to figure out where's the camera going to be, where am I going to be, and so that's what takes up the most time. But especially with these oneers, you only need one. So, you could be shooting all morning, but in reality, you only need one shot to go.
Is that more stressful when they do the oneers?
I love it. I love it because
It looks cool.
It looks cool. You know it's gonna look cool, and I love it. It's to me it's theater. So it just takes a while. It takes a while to get it perfected, but they always seem to. So like I said, I know we're in good hands, and they wouldn't just move on unless we the actors thought, okay, we're ready to move on.
And who knew there was a baseball field in the bottom of a bank?
Yeah, go
New
go
York
check
City.
it out. I think they have birthday parties there too.
I did mention this before, and I want to bring it back to you because I'm interested, and I see it, and I've asked other artists this, and I see it all over this season. But when you are, especially when you're a creative person, does who you love always get in the way of what you love to do? And I feel like these two characters, Joel and Midge, in this season, are at odds with that. They love each other, but they also have these ambitions and these dreams. And even as a performer, does who you love get in the way of what you want to become? And is there a way to balance that? And how do you balance that?
Well, in terms of this, I think, or in terms of the show, the characters, that's why I said I think he needs to take a step back. He needs to let her realize her dream. You're talking about personally? Of course, it definitely affects relationships because as an actor, you never know really where you're going to be. You don't know, what's next, what's coming, and where's the money coming from. It does get stressful, but obviously people make it work. Just don't date an actor, I guess.
Don't date anybody. We do have a couple questions from the crowd that we can go to now. Christina has this question. When you first started auditioning, and I feel like this is a really interesting question. The question is, when you first started auditioning, did you feel as if you wanted to be liked? If so, when did that feeling transition from wanting to be liked to just having fun in the room? And what that means is, you want your bosses to really like you and you care about that. You said when you walked out of that room, you were deflated because they weren't laughing. But when does that feeling go away of needing that acceptance from them? And when can you just relax and have fun?
Yeah, never. Honestly, auditioning is an entirely different beast than acting because you don't have the part, so you don't have that confidence. You're going in there, like I said, you have papers in your hands, and my hands are always shaking. It doesn't get easier, I think even if I know the casting director, it's not easy because in that respect, I want to impress her more. I want to, so I don't know. I think maybe I'm the wrong person to ask this question. Auditioning never gets easy for me. It's always nerve-wracking. I do think I've gotten better at it. I do think from day one, certainly, I've gotten better at it. And just the more you do it, the easier it gets. But I don't, I'm always nervous. I'm always nervous going in there. But I feel like you need to use your nerves. Use those nerves so that you can pop on camera, and so that you don't seem like low energy or something like that. That's what I always try to do, and and like I said before, I always try to memorize so that I don't have these papers, so I'm not relying on these papers in my hand. But
do you have something that you do to deal with the rejection? I'm sure you had a lot of auditions that did not go right before you landed some of these roles. What's your sort of go-to to kind of get out of that negative headspace?
Rejection is this career. Yeah. The whole career, 99% of this career is rejection. So that you just have to deal with it. You just have to deal with it and move on. And it's obviously easier said than done. But you have to, because otherwise it's not for you. Most of this business is rejection.
Have a thick skin and.
I guess it's just things got really quiet all of a sudden, but there's that that 1% and that's what you're striving for. And it happens, and that's the feeling that you want. That's the high that you want, and it happens. So for every 100 auditions that you don't get, maybe there's that one, and that's what you keep striving for.
And if you're down in the dumps, I have a great show that I could recommend for some laughs.
But at the same time, also, yes, right. don't dwell on the rejection. Use it and try to create something else for yourself if that's getting you down. Just, I always try to be creative. I'm trying to write, so that's what I try to do to get through the rejection. Just, try to be creative in some way, shape, or form.
This is from Sunny Marie Lee. Hi, Sunny. Do all of you strictly stay to the script in this marvelously written show? Is there improv? Because, I mean, the wit is just quick.
Yeah. No, there's no improv. We get notes if we say that instead of the. So yeah, it's word for word. And you know what? I like it. I like it like that. It just kind of takes a little pressure off. Some people love improv, and I could do that too. But I don't know. It's just kind of relieving just to show up and just have to know your lines. Instead of thinking, oh, what can I say that's funnier than the last take that I did? It's kind of stress-free for me. So yeah, but it's word for word, and luckily they're really good writers.
Very good. And the last question, which feels like a good last question: have you ever done stand-up comedy before, Mrs. Maisel? You were in a comedy troupe, though.
I used to do sketch comedy. I did sketch comedy in college and then in the city when I graduated. But I've never done stand-up, and I don't want to. I really don't. But I applaud anyone who can get up on stage and just embarrass themselves like that. I really applaud it. So some people are really good at it. I just don't know if I don't know if I can handle that kind of rejection.
Yeah. What about sketch comedy? Would you recommend that as sort of a device for somebody who wants to be an actor? And
yeah, sure. I think that when I used to do sketch stuff, it only helped me become a better actor. It was kind of my excuse to because when I came here, it was very hard to break into like the theater scene. I didn't go to Juilliard or Yale or NYU or something like that, so it was kind of difficult breaking into theater here. And some friends and I, we decided we were gonna rent a theater and write a show and put it on. And it was really my excuse to get on a stage and perform. And it only helped me build confidence. And I played different characters, and it was very freeing as an actor. And I could try new things. And yeah, I absolutely recommend it if you feel like you're funny. But
right on. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
The show is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He is Michael Zegen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.